Good afternoon. Today is Monday, April 26, 2021. We're here for the regular trustee meeting. If you can join us for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or changes? If not, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda for the April 26, 2021 meeting as presented. Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Krutz?
Yes.
Sinking down. Okay. Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $394,885.03 for the 4/21/21 payroll.
Second.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Krutz?
Yes.
I move to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $498,014.12 for warrants through 4/22 of 2021.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Krutz?
Yes. This time we have minutes from the regular trustee meeting of April 12th, 2021. Are there any changes or additions? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the April 12th, 2021 regular trustee meeting.
Second.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Krutz?
Yes. And at this time, we open the microphone up to any citizens desiring to speak. If there's anyone here that would like to speak, you're more than welcome to step up to the podium, give your name, and you have 3 minutes, please.
Do I need this, or am I the only one? Or
You're welcome to go.
Didn't want to assume or presume. So, Chet Bryant, 1234 Homestead Drive. I'd like to address a couple points brought up after my last public input. It was strongly alluded that I'm concerned about this topic simply because it's in my backyard. In fact, after a career change and a decision to permanently live in Beavercreek, I've become aware of many local governance topics, and I'm starting to see how they are intertwined, and yet public input is often ignored. The Connector Road, Greene County Perspectives 2040, the Vesper Solar Farm are some things I'm involved in, and only one of them is in my backyard. In fact, I started the petition to show concern with this road reaches well beyond my backyard to many of your constituents in all of Greene County. As mentioned at the last meeting, the issues and concerns the petition mirror public input received by the county RPCC, internet surveys, and workshops that they've conducted. Environment, noise, and of course taxes are some of the big issues. I don't think it's a stretch to say that communication to the public from the county, cities, and townships could be improved. Proactive communication about development topics is usually limited to within 500 feet of the project. I can see how this body might become cynical about people only showing up for issues near their backyard, but I would submit to you that what is happening in their backyard might be all they are aware of, not all that they are concerned about. But back to the Connector Road issue at hand. It was stated that the Connector Road is required for Maxwell Place development, and I believe it's slightly incorrect that Indian Ripple and Valley Road must connect, which is the essence of the Connector Road. Maxwell Place just needs access off of Indian Ripple to the 13-lot PUD, which then provides access to the 42-lot PUD. As with other developers, can pay for and construct their interior roads at no cost to taxpayers. Secondary entrance for the fire department can easily be connected to the maintenance road along the northwest side of the property, mirroring the Woodridge neighborhood strategy. Residents will treasure having slow-moving traffic instead of fast cars and large trucks exiting Highway 35 if they're connected. The Valley Springs Farm site plan will likely change drastically, but they will have several interior roads accessible from Valley Road and also do not need to have the roads connect. Finally, it was brought up that people are begging for another north-south corridor to get across Highway 35, and the road is needed due to recent development around Indian Ripple. I would just like to note that this road obviously does not establish another crossing of Highway 35, just another way to get to the same crossing at Treybine while cutting mere minutes off of one of the 3 commutes laid out by the trustee in the last meeting. Many of the signatures on this petition are from those very neighborhoods around Indian Ripple. This petition has gone out on the Nextdoor app to people in specific neighborhoods who happen to be on that app. Not one comment has come back against the petition to the effect of, man, this road's really needed, it would help my commuting. Compare that to varied comments you get when you put something about school tax levies, or maybe should the township allow shooting on private property, which generates significant debate on both sides. So thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around. Unfortunately, you'll see me one more meeting to talk about the fire department as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Just provide your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Schweigman, 2160 Forest Bend Drive in Xenia. I'm the president of the Woodridge Homeowner Association, and I just want to make one point that this is not just a Chet Bryant initiative, but most all the people in Woodridge and around there totally support his initiative. And at that point, if Chet needs any more time, I'll cede him the rest of my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Did you want to use his other 2 minutes?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry to read at you, but it allows me to keep it to 3 minutes.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Thank you. Thanks for your input, gentlemen. All right, with regards to old business, we have no old business. On new business, we have a surplus resolution.
Thank you, Board. On page 17 of your packet is a surplus of the Malibu. Has been replaced with 2 pool vehicles as part of the fleet management program, so we're asking to surplus it. Funds came out of the general fund, so they'll have to be returned once it's sold on cut deals. Also, after the meeting, we do have one of the new pool vehicles here. Take some time before you leave to take a look at one of the new pool vehicles. And you can pass it as presented.
I make a motion to, are there any questions, or make a motion, resolution number 202-10426 dash admin dash E for April 26, 2021, finding certain township equipment to be surplus and to dispose of it as presented.
Second.
Trustee Wallace,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Kretz.
Yes. Mr. Bryant, I did want to, just for your benefit, you made the comment that you want to speak again regarding the fire department. Were you planning on doing that today?
Oh, no.
Okay, I was gonna, just because, well, there's one public comment, I didn't want, if you had more time, I'd still give you the 2 minutes. I just didn't want you to wait to the end and then be upset if we didn't have another public comment, so, okay. All right, Greene County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Board. Page 19 of your packet is the biweekly report. Sergeant Morris here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Sergeant Moore? Or any awareness items, Sergeant, that you need to bring to our attention?
There's not. Maybe you guys have seen a higher amount of fraud reports that we've taken over the last month or so, and that is due to the issues that went on with the Department of Job and Family Services, and their database was compromised, and fraudulent unemployment claims were made in people's names. And so us and every other agency in the state of Ohio were taking multiple reports for that.
Okay. Anything as far as the soccer season coming up that we need to be aware of or address or head off?
No, I had a good conversation with Bill that's running things over there now, and he and I are set to have another meeting next week and just get some things set up. And we actually probably want to go with Mr. Parks and try maybe something not new. Mr. Parks that they've done in the past of just some traffic patterns and lay those traffic patterns out that might help with some of the traffic issues and just try to get ahead of everything. But through conversations in the past, I think they're staggering the game times. It seems to be a lot better. I plan on contacting the
And then, kind of that time of year again to ask, is there anything that we need to be, the board needs to proactively be considering or thinking of relative to the interdiction programs that we've put together and funded in the past?
Mr. Zaharias and I have talked a little loosely about that coming up, and I anticipate he and I are probably going to present something here soon.
Okay.
In regards to that.
Good.
And probably ask for some or I think actually we built it in for this year, so we'll just make you aware. But Mr. Zaharias and I plan on discussing that, I believe, coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, we budgeted in this year's budget, which was approved by the board, special operations or special events, which has included the soccer tournaments plus any extra exhibitions that we made on those 35.
Okay. And then last question I had was relative to, I cannot remember or recall the acronym of the group that was here, and they gave us a presentation essentially, and they were focused on drug trafficking, human trafficking. I cannot remember the acronym, but ACE Task Force, right. And so, and we had discussed with them providing some substantive support, financial support for their efforts from the township. And I know we had deferred that because there was the potential for a private citizen that might step up and provide that. So just obviously that private citizen may still do that, but from a timing standpoint, I'd hate to see a year pass and we didn't do something to help support that effort.
Yeah, we are looking at the time frame of when and getting a final decision from that resident who is considering a donation.
Okay.
If not, then we'll revisit it. There will be a leadership change at the ACE Task Force. So the ACE Force commander is taking a position actually with the sheriff's office. So,
Okay.
as soon as the transition, and that is a county commissioner appointment, not a sheriff appointment. So as soon as commissioners appoint somebody, we'll contact the
Okay.
task force.
Well, like I said, it's just one of those things where to not let too much grass grow under our feet
Sure.
while
Yeah,
we wait
that's
for a very
on
good,
our mind.
for a very generous offer, but just so it doesn't lose a year in the meantime. Anything else, Sergeant Moore, or for Sergeant Moore?
I had no other questions, but just be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is on, is HR. The first item is the policy update from last meeting. If you look on the second page, 2.3, that was the language that was added. We didn't want to put any dates in after talking with staff and the fiscal officer due to the fact that if we would change insurance companies and the timing would change, then we would have to update the policy. So this keeps it as open-ended that,
Just prior.
It's prior to payment, and we actually, we're talking to the finance department staff, we actually lay out a schedule, so work with each individual.
Good.
So that's the only other change from the last meeting. If there's no additional questions, there's a motion to approve the policy as presented.
I just want to thank staff, Trish and finance, Mr. Rushing and your staff, putting those last pieces together. I think it's important to have specific dates for people to know, and if you give them a calendar, what they have to do, it's very clear cut and doesn't leave any ambiguity on what's necessary to make your COBRA payments on time. So appreciate that. If there's no other questions or comments, I will make a motion to approve COBRA policy as presented.
Second.
Trustee Wallace,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Kress.
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is the biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I had none.
Thank you.
Is there just an error that there's two COBRA policies?
That's why, yeah, they got put in there twice in the packet.
Okay.
So I apologize. It says the same thing though.
I did read both of them. I thought they were, you're tricking us to see which one was which,
I
but
apologize.
they were the same.
Thank you, board. Next item is on page 45 of your packet is the biweekly report for the community development risk. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I had none.
No, I didn't have any. Seems like
I had-
everybody's working hard.
Yeah, I had none relative to the report. Mr. Zahareff, just to reiterate something we've discussed prior with the board, based on the public input comments that we received relative to Valley Bell. So the Valley Bell, or whatever that road name would be, is that a township road or a county road?
County.
Okay, and so, from a standpoint of that being on a county thoroughfare plan, from a township perspective, we've identified that as a means, and we can have Chief or Mr. Grogan can even comment as well from a prevention standpoint, but the standards of cover essentially did identify that we need to improve service times to that region. So, and there are only a couple of ways to do it. Building a fire station that can't get around the corner it will help potentially, but even as we've had discussion with commissioners and other folks in the past who have questioned, we have Station 64 on Indian Ripple Road, and why do we need to even have a station near the airport? And the question, and the comments that we provided the feedback to was Mr. Gould, Mr. Kugler, other commissioners in the past, was that when we look at response times and where those apparatus, or I don't know if that's plural or singular, where those medic units and engine trucks are at is typically at the green or on 675 or at a nursing home or nursing homes, and typically so their service calls are taking them away from in the opposite direction of the area that we need to make sure that we have service. So at the same time, while there are transportation and thoroughfare plans, there are also ALS demands essentially that we need to make sure that we have covered. So anything there that I missed or misspoke to?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Standards coverage lays out the need for distribution throughout the community, and
Right.
it's largely because of all the development in the unincorporated area of the town.
And then in Bexley, just for example, so on Shepherd Road, we have Bexley Hills, but then directly across the street from that, is the higher density, there's the Scarborough development, but then in between Shepherd Road and Scarborough, there's a much higher density. Is that called Bexley as well? Is that Bexley East or Bexley West?
It is River West.
Yeah.
River West, okay, all right. And so, I'm just looking on our chart as far as, we don't have a plan, there is or is not a final, site plan that's been approved for that. We just have a concept at
The
this point.
site plan, I believe, is at the Regional Planning Commission, and they're working out drainage and
Okay.
easement and shifting lots with
Okay,
change in regards to drainage easements that both the county and the township have identified.
do we recall what the density is for that piece of it?
Do not recall the density, I mean, we do have the number of homes.
Or, that's even better.
So River West,
164 approved.
yeah, 164 homes approved.
Okay, there, I see it. Okay, so potential of another 164 Ryan or Coventry style homes, essentially most likely they'll be going into that piece of it, and that's been approved for years, obviously.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a higher density, closer to the road, and bigger lots as we get closer to the
Okay,
road.
but curb cut wise would be coming off of Scarborough and Shepherd, or would be
Scarborough.
all
yeah.
off Scarborough, the secondary, that cul-de-sac that's back in there now?
There
Okay,
may be another entrance off,
I thought there was a secondary entrance.
or the new one up on Shepherd. Don't quote me on that, though.
Yeah.
I think there's another entrance on Shepherd.
Okay,
But it's directly across from one of the other curb cuts already.
okay. And so from a township perspective, attempting to plan from a standpoint of not only what's on the ground today, but what's gonna be on the ground within the next 5 to 10 years or less, depending if this housing market continues. So there'll be roughly 150, 160 more single-family homes going in there, adding to that already. When you look at, from a commute standpoint, and that's why the county, when they look at these thoroughfare plans over 10, 20 years, that's part of the reason why they do this master planning is what they call it. So there are, not in response, but essentially these are all pieces of the puzzle. No one piece of the puzzle is always the reason why, or not normally the reason why, but there are normally a handful of pieces of the puzzle. So between Maxwell, between Bexley, between the county thoroughfare plan, between the airport, between the fire station, and then ALS, the standards of cover, all of that playing together along with countywide commute, that's where it's been determined that that road was necessary. So, okay.
And then the other thing we looked at is the same developer owns land on Indian Ripple near Woodridge that goes all the way into Sugar Creek as well.
Sure. Okay. Okay. And I will extend my personal statement that it was never my intent to imply that you were only interested in it because it was in your backyard. It was to clarify that from a recording standpoint, when we record an address for an individual, you have an address obviously that's in Stonehill Village, but obviously you own property that backs up to this road. And so it was to clarify that it wasn't a Stonehill Village complaint about another road in another community. So, okay. All right, anything else for community risk and development? If not, we'll move on to IT.
Board, on page 56 of your packet is the bi-weekly report followed by the ticket count. Just to give you an update, we are moving right along in those infrastructure IT rebuild in the server room. So that project is moving pretty quick, so we'll start to see some changes. There'll be a few downtimes, but we are working with staff and Paragon to look at when those times and when we should be taking the network down, so it's less of an impact to staff. Obviously, we operate a 24-hour service in the fire department, so it's going to be some sort of impact.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any key functions that Chief Heaster or yourself has not turned over to the IT group yet?
I have nothing to do with that. I don't think Chief Easter or myself have
Okay.
much other than some advice.
Okay.
A question and answer, that's it.
Okay.
So it is dramatically, as we said before, especially with the major network failure we had earlier this year, Chief Easter and myself were not involved in that.
Good. Okay.
So you're happy?
That was the goal.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Awesome.
No, there are some things like we like your opinion on which way to go on this, or here's a quote on three for a
Right.
device, or we
Mhm.
need to replace this device, what do you guys think? So those are the things that we're involved with now and should be,
Mhm.
not like before we were kind of in.
You were
day-to-day
doing it.
operations.
Nothing else for IT. We'll go into roads. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Board. First item's on page 59 in your packet is to purchase request for an arm mower. Tim is here to kind of explain where we're going with both these projects and answer any questions.
Good evening. Mr. Harriet,
Stuck.
Froze.
Might be one of our others.
Yeah, I just went down too.
See if it goes back up. If not, I'll go through the project.
Okay.
Budget justification starts on page 59.
Here he's back.
Oh, there he is.
okay, there I am. That's twice that's done it to me. Which sent us into a reevaluation of our current fleet of road mowers. And knowing the repairs that were coming in, get them ready for the mowing season. In doing that evaluation, the arm mower, the head on it, the mower head itself is actually welded together from the numerous repairs we've had to do to it. So it was gonna need to be replaced. But found about a $12,000 cost. And I sent staff to do the evaluation of whether to get rid of both of our current mowers or purchase the two from the county. And they came back with the realization that the arm mower tractor is still good, even though it's 21 years old. Still a lot of service life, but it offers protection when they're doing trimming of brush along the roadside. So that's why we went with this proposal. And I'll kind of talk about the other one while we're here. The other proposal was for a mower from the county that offered, and we kind of hopped all over that. What they're offering that tractor mower for is a very good deal, and we were able to negotiate a skid of parts that comes with it. Knowing the fact that our small mower, we would have to put at least $4,000 in to replace the clutch. And with it being a 2000, that mower operates in the ditches. The mower we're getting from the county, we can actually stay on the roadway, which makes it a lot safer for the guys. So I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
So,
I know one of the big things that came up, it was not a budgeted item. When we put the budget together for this year, I wasn't comfortable because we didn't have real good firm numbers back at the end of last year. But we evaluated the numbers that the finance department has given us this year, and I feel more than comfortable making these two purchases.
Tim cut out the first part, but this was part of the Township Association presentation by the county engineer. The county engineer has equipment that was all the trustees could go through and look at that was for sale. The county engineer has the ability to sell it to township under the statute. So it doesn't have to really go to deals, we don't have to bid on it. So after that meeting, I went to Tim the next day and said, let's take a look at some of the equipment over there, see if there's any benefit to the township. So that's the first part that was cut out.
So, Mr. Parks, on the first item, the arm mower, I guess the first question I would ask, and it is, from a utilization standpoint, is this something that we could rent how often do we use it? Is it something that we could rent? Is it seasonal, once or twice or 3 times a year that we go out with it, or is it every day?
Actually, during the active season, mowing season, it's out 5 to 6 times a year. However, in the wintertime, we use it to go back and clear brush when all the vegetation isn't on there. We've kind of changed the mode. Our current mower is side mounted on the tractor.
Right.
Which when you use it, it pushes you up against the center line.
Sure.
This mower actually mounts behind. It can be taken off to allow that tractor to be used for other operations.
Right. I guess my question is, could we rent it for the 5 or 6 times a year we use it in the summer and 5 times we use it in the winter?
Very doubtful.
Okay.
It's a high maintenance item, to be honest with you.
Okay. Okay. I know you can rent the tractors with the arms. That's why I didn't know if it was cost effective to do that versus spend all the money on that and then still maintain it. Because if you look at the life expectancy of it, and if you're maintaining it, are we using the mower head as a bush hog head? Is that why we break the head?
No,
You said it had been.
The mower head on this particular arm mower is actually used to reach back on the back side of the ditch.
Okay.
Where the smaller mower cannot get. And it's used to trim brush up probably 10 to 15 feet above the roadway.
Sure.
Which is an advantage to us because the more sunlight we can get to the road, the better off we are in longevity of not having to repave that road. So
Right.
overall, it's a good investment.
questions?
I had a question. Mr. Parks, Ms. Goff had said that the county's taken a different approach on the cutting of roadways. Is that something that we would entertain in the future, on using smaller mowers, and that's why they got rid of the big ones? Is that something that a direction that we need to start looking at also?
No, I believe what she is looking at is more of the stuff to the east in the county, because those are very deep ditches over there. So the mowers that she is selling do not do a real good job there. And as we will never get out of the road mowing business, just because we have
Right.
those arterial roads. So, I mean, we can entertain that in a future date, but right now, our operation is working very well for the township.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I move to approve the purchase request VIP requisition number 21 Road 0278 to Parsons Equipment Company for one Bomford Kestrel VFA 5.7-19 foot reach arm and mower head in the amount of $45,000, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Wallace,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Kretz.
Yes. Okay, next item.
Next item was the mower from the county on page 60 with a motion.
I had a question to Mr. Parks. If we would have had bought this John Deere 2016 tractor new, how much we would have to pay for it? Approximately.
Just on the pricing we did with tractors, tractors these days are running, the smaller tractors like that are probably $75,000.
Okay.
Yeah, easily.
And the fact that we got a whole skid of parts, correct? Implements to go with it?
Correct, it's about $3,000 worth of parts that we're getting for roughly about $1,000.
It's great. Good job.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve purchase request 202-10426 Road B for the county engineer for 2016 John Deere tractor, including mower and parts for $26,000, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Trustee Kretz.
Yes.
Board, finally item is the bi-weekly report for the road department. It's on page 62 of your packet. Are there any questions for Mr. Parks?
Any questions? Mr. Parks, as far as the cemetery project, have we concluded that? Where we stand? What's left to do?
We have to go through the final recommendations and kind of put those in place. It just means having time to sit down with the finance department once whoever is going to hold that cemetery sexton position and working through some issues of known problems. But the mapping's all done.
The physical work part of it is done, as far as the underground topography, or whatever it is,
Yes.
okay,
And we have their reports back, so.
okay. Okay. And so as far as programming that in, is that something we think we can have accomplished or finished by by the end of July, or is that something by the end of October?
We can push for October. It's just a matter of sitting down and kind of going through all the pieces, parts that we've gotten back.
Okay. Are we at risk for selling a grave that we don't have the right to sell because it's already occupied or already sold?
No, we are not at that risk. My staff, before
was the major, that was the goal of this, was to be able to have certainty that we were not selling a grave that was either occupied or already sold and committed to someone else. So as long as, if it takes time to finish the programming of that, that's one thing, but as long as we have that certainty and we have a control or system in place to avoid that, because one family member that has to go through that again, it's simply, it's too many, so, okay.
I agree.
At least in my opinion, it's too many. So we did that once and it was painful, so, for everybody involved. Okay. Okay, any other questions, Mr. Parks?
None?
On to fire.
Thank you, Board. First item is on page 63 of your packet is request permission to fill the part-time fire inspector vacancy. Chief Boss and Fire Marshal Brochen are both here to go through the history, and we have a resolution that's also in your packet, so you can pass it as presented. So I'll turn it over to staff.
Good evening. As you may recall, Mr. Hodson was hired on as an intern in November of last year under the Ohio Diversity and Inclusion Technology Grant, which actually technically expires at the end of this month. He was actually working, as you noticed in the biweeklies, as an assistant to us in the Prevention Bureau, but he worked not only with us, but a number of different people across the department. He did some data entry with us, some scanning. He worked with a small little project with accreditation with Chief Dorston, and there was another. He helped us with some budgeting of a new plotter scanner. So he did quite a bit of work while he was there. Did some very good quality work also. Just a little history of him. He joined the Explorers in 2016 as one of the members, and the other, Zaharief, was a member of that also, and I can't remember who the third one was with that. But at any rate, he joined in 2016. He graduated from Beavercreek in 2018. He currently has qualifications of a firefighter certification, EMTB, and he just recently got his fire safety inspectors. He is a current member of the auxiliary and of the CERT team. He's CERT qualified, and definitely highly recommended by the Division Chief Hawker also. So, again, it's my recommendation that we continue to have him work part-time with us in the Fire Prevention Bureau. He's shown a lot of good promise. Chief, did you have anything else?
Is he working full-time anywhere?
No, he currently has a part-time job at Washington Township as a firefighter EMT.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still relatively young, so I think he's exploring his options. But he really enjoys the bureau and the work that we do.
And he really wants this part-time job. Well, you know, one of the things I would like to congratulate the chief and you, Mr. Grover, is that this is how these things are supposed to work, that we get monies from a source to help get an intern in and test them and teach them, and they help us and we help them, and then the hope is eventually that they would find a job within our structure. And so I think it's a good note that all the things that were checked off the boxes happening, that he was an intern, and now we're looking at bringing him in as part-time. So I think that's exactly the way it should be, or hope to be, and that we remove the people that aren't fit for the job after the internship. So it's nice to see somebody that fits in with the people and is working and wants to be here.
Yeah, the internship was a great opportunity for him to see him in that
and for
role.
us.
And this position is you're filling a part-time position. It's a 1,500 hour or less, or
No, it's what's budgeted was the regular part-time as the previous part-time.
with benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually in the, I'm sorry, Chief, the authorized staffing levels. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
We have a
the
resolution?
resolution.
And you can do it as presented. The
Sure.
language is in the packet.
Right.
motion to approve resolution number 2021-0426-fire-A, a resolution hiring one regular part-time fire inspector as presented.
Second.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz.
Yes,
Thank you, Board.
thank you.
Board?
Thanks for mentoring him.
Yeah, Thomas was the original fire explorer.
Isn't that, that's a great boost for our program also. So that's neat.
And his work on 13 as well as the night of 20 with all the efforts.
I got it back. I was like, oh, somebody's got ink over there.
And I just want to thank Rain Carroll and Jim Henry for being that mentor.
Perfect.
You're doing a great job with them.
Great, thank you. Station 65.
First of all, the information that was presented in the last trustee meeting, the board asked us to come back with some options. So I'll turn that over to Chief Easter. We do have samples in front of you.
Just
I'll turn that over
need to move
Chief
around.
Easter.
You can take
Sure.
a 5-minute break.
So board, you asked the amount that was in the base bid for the plastic laminate countertops for the kitchen, which is the area that we're talking about this upgrade to. That number is $2,000, and roughly, based on our current stations that have that type of material, that will last about 10 to 12 years before needing replacement due to chips and breakages in the countertop. You asked us for the a granite option. We were able to get that in the same price range as the Corian, so an estimate was $6,000, and you should have the samples for what that price range would get us there. The Corian, again, is what we have there at Fire Station 61, and we have not had to replace any of that in this 10 years since that station was completed in 2005. And then the original quartz option that was there, that was not our recommendation, but included in the glass packet proposal was carried through here as well. So obviously we would like to figure out which direction the board would like us to go so that we can wrap that up and get that moving forward.
Okay. And relative to the diamond plate, proposal 10, that's been removed? Is that what?
Yes, so that removed $7,500 from that proposal. So the finish changes for the tile and carpeting and a few other minor items that were no longer available from the 2018 material selection to now, that amount was $2,500, and then the $7,500 came off to remove the diamond plate from the change proposal that was presented last meeting.
Okay. And the request to consider granite in lieu of quartz or corian was that we would anticipated that granite would come in at roughly the same cost, which it did, but it obviously is more heat resistant than a corian product. So I think the board recognized the need for a solid surface, but we just wanted to, if we were going to spend the money, to make sure we got something that was heat resistant and solid surface. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thanks
And
for
lean
doing the
towards
legwork.
granite.
Appreciate that. So, any other questions on that item?
So is the board good with going with the granite then?
I'm fine
Yeah,
with
I
it.
would
Yes.
suggest the granite
I would
over the
suggest that
Corian,
too.
yeah.
If
So
you
that
like,
would fall under the $10,000 mark, Mr. Zahara, so I can amend that requisition for the correct amount and send it through the existing process.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, anything else on the station you'd like to present?
I don't have anything else at this time.
Good.
Board? Next item is the COVID impact to the community. The Chief's here, and also followed by the biweekly report. Chief's here to answer any questions.
My understanding is that the vaccination center at Russ will be shutting down in the next 2 weeks or so. Is that correct?
Well, it's interesting you say that because we are getting conflicting information right now. So our auxiliary has been told May 7th is the last day, and that was confirmed through EMA. But it sounds like perhaps what was intended to be passed along is that is the last scheduled day but maybe not the last day that they will offer one. So there's an opportunity or possibility of additional ones being scheduled. But as of right now, through the primary sources I have and what we've been told directly, May 7th is the last one that we are planning to assist with, unless somebody comes back and says they're extending it either at Russ or at some other location.
Okay. And then, in your, report, you indicate that COVID has cost the fire department 4,488 hours at a salary value of 154,000 and change. Is there a portion of that that was in support of the vaccination center, or is that leave that was required due to quarantine and other type things?
Yes, a portion of that is the vaccination effort. That is the 17 employees and 337 hours that were spent there, and that's not including the over 2,500, almost 3,000 volunteer hours that the auxiliaries put in. And I have a more exact number, so if, when we get to the end, I'll present the dollar amounts for each of those, as well as the hour and employee totals.
Okay. And understanding that townships were excluded from the last round of stimulus, are the 337 hours to date and any other hours that the township accrues, is there any other mechanism to be able to pursue reimbursement for those hours in support of that vaccination, either through the county, the state, or federal? Is there any other program that we can apply through?
Unfortunately, there's not. The American Rescue Plan, unfortunately, was our last chance, and 5 states that have township form of government were excluded from that.
Have we heard anything that they might correct that exclusion?
As of Friday, we have heard nothing from the treasurer. I've also been, I will say that Senator Portman's office and Congressman Turner's office has given us regular updates, and they continue to ask the treasurer if this can be fixed, and hear nothing.
Yeah, that's disappointing, only because meanwhile, the funds are being dispersed and the bank is being depleted, so.
Correct. If a decision is not made by the treasury within 60 days from when the president signed it, then the townships in those 5 states are out. And those are townships that provide police, fire services to their
Sure.
communities.
Okay. Any other questions regarding COVID impact?
I had none.
I have none.
Okay. And then we have a bi-weekly report from the chief.
Yes, and probably the major thing to note is we are finally back in positive numbers as far as year-over-year incidents. So we're about +2% from prior year. We had a very busy stretch kind of at the middle of the past bi-weekly period. It'll be interesting to see if we stay at this level now or if we kind of drop back to where we were. But it's the first time in just about a year that we have had an increase in calls over the prior year.
Okay. And that 2%, is that an aggregate year to date, or is that for the period that you're reporting?
That's just a year over year. So from this time year to date to last year to date at the same time.
Okay.
So our annual growth is increasing this year over last year and the prior year, actually.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on the bi-weekly?
I had none.
Thank you, Chief. Anything from an awareness item that we need to have brought before us today?
No, sir. I appreciate your support, and we're looking forward to bringing Thomas on. And as you pointed out, it's a great opportunity and a great example of what the system looks like when it's working well. So thank you again.
Thank you. Anything from Ms. Frick, legal advisor?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make you all just kind of an awareness item that's come up, although hopefully you don't have this situation come up, but there was a case that came down out of the Ohio Supreme Court. It sort of flew under the radar, but now has got a lot of attention, in which someone did a public records request to to an entity asking for all the legal bills, for Otarma, or one of the other, I can't remember if it was Otarma or one of the other ones. And, one of the other risk pools. Well, there was, a decision that came out that kind of said on an agency theory that while the entity never receives any bills, doesn't get them, doesn't even possess them, that you would be responsible to produce them in response to a public records request. There's obviously now a big pushback on that, and there's been requests for reconsideration and a number of things like that, but I wanted to make you aware of that because in case you start seeing any kind of request like that, in terms of a public records request, that you don't just assume that there's an error in responding back, that's not something you have, because under this recent decision, whether you had it or not, apparently doesn't make a difference. So I just kind of wanted you to be aware of it. There's some hope that there might be some changes yet on that, but that's all still before the court.
Thank you.
And just for, Mr. Rushing and I get public records requests from law firms all over this country testing the public records policy, for information like that. It's not uncommon to get something like that and respond. So I appreciate the information because I'm sure somebody out there will, test it and see if there's some remedy.
Sure.
Money off, a legal case.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Frick?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rushing?
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Miami Valley Regional Planning?
Nothing to report.
TAC?
The agenda was in your package.
And Regional Planning, there is a full commission meeting tomorrow evening, April 27th. And I don't believe there's anything on the agenda for Beavercreek Township related. Health Department Advisory Council?
Thursday, first Thursday of May, there will be the next meeting.
School Superintendent?
No meeting with the superintendent, city manager meetings next week.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Restoration Advisory Board. Greene County Township Association President?
We had our meeting. It went real well with Stephanie Goff was the host, our county engineer, and she showed the members there and the elected officials of all the projects that the county's doing, and then had us tour the garage and saw the equipment that was for sale. And Beavercreek was one of the first townships to pick up the equipment at a really good deal.
Bring the check
So
back
it
next year.
was a very good meeting.
Good, thank you. Investment Oversight Committee, I had nothing. Do we have any indication when Huntington might provide a either a quarterly or a semi-annual cash flow projection?
I can run that anytime.
You can run that, okay. Maybe at the next meeting. If
Would
we
you
just-
like, I can include it in my regular report?
That'd be great. Perfect, thank you. Anything else to come before the board? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn? What were these pictures?
That's from the fire and the new fire
Okay.
station.
Gotcha.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Trustee Walls?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.